Okay, so we are live. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us to this webinar. We're here today to have have light on a very important topic, which is the green bond tokenization, exploring the art of the possible through combining blockchain, smart contracts, Internet of Things, and digital assets. And my name is Sabine Reppert, Associate Director of Sales for Digital Asset in Hong Kong. And I'm joined by a very esteemed panel today, which is David Krier. So David is Global DLT and Crypto Lead at GFT Group. We have Nora Tang. Nora Tang is General Manager of the Technical Department at Octopus Holdings Limited here in Hong Kong. We have David Varga. David Varga is a product manager at a digital asset. And this panel wouldn't be complete without Dave Sandor. He is the co-founder and CEO of Allinfra. So on the topic that we want to look into today about the green bond tokenization is not only, it's not like a hypothetical discussion, that is actually a very real case. And that one is also being showcased on the Hong Kong FinTech Week, where basically the project results are being presented from a prototype as part of the Project Genesis, an initiative led by the Bank of International Settlement and the Innovation Hub from the Hong Kong Center and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. So before we dive into looking into this POC, and you as the viewers here in this session, you get kind of like a sneak peek into what's coming up the next days, also at the Hong Kong FinTech Week and on the stages. So here a few housekeeping items. First of all, this session is being recorded. And so all viewers will not be able to show their video and are muted. So we have basically an agenda of 60 minutes. So where we have a 10-minute introduction, the team has provided a video that gives a wonderful overview of the project. And then you have the ability to hear from the people who made this project happen from first hand, and we go in a little deep dive to see how all these elements about DLT, IoT, smart contracts, and even Octopus App come together. So after we have explored how this has been created, we also have 15 minutes a panel discussion. So with this POC being in place now, what is the art of the possible? So where can we go from here? And then we'll have 10-minute Q&A where you have the ability to raise your questions and discuss with the panelists firsthand. So without further ado, I would say we go right into, and so there's no better way than seeing this movie that our team has created, a little video that shows actually the project, the POC that has been built.
The Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority have joined forces to deliver the next generation of tokenized asset infrastructure. This new digital infrastructure will not only offer greater efficiency and transparency across green investments in the Hong Kong market, it will also help issuers and governments meet their environmental and sustainability goals. To alleviate many of the complexities associated with green bond issuance and to demystify uncertainties surrounding green impact, BIS and HKMA launched Project Genesis, a green bond issuance prototype that utilizes digital assets' core technology offering, DAML. DAML is a multi-party application platform that uses smart contracts to simplify complex business processes while also making data more accessible. Through DAML, blockchain, and IoT, the Project Genesis prototype is able to share real-time data across the green bond lifecycle while eliminating duplicative processing.
Our first goal is to empower retail. We want to make possible investing in government green bonds in a simple way via an app that shows accrued interest and green impact in real time. Furthermore, We want to empower retail to own green bond finance projects in their neighborhood.
Our second goal is to foster achieving Hong Kong's green targets. The Hong Kong SAR government has set ambitious carbon emission reduction goals. Tapping retail to realize aspiring green projects helps Hong Kong to fulfill its climate obligations under the Paris Agreement.
Our third goal is to explore and foster a new financial ecosystem. Distributed ledger technology is becoming an important building block of future financial systems. Project Genesis helps familiarize market participants with this new technology architecture.
Currently in Hong Kong, the retail bond subscription and payment process takes up to 28 days. This delay is largely due to the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and associated placing agencies reconciling application and subscription data from the same investor.
From a distribution perspective, the prototype built on blockchain enables all placing institutions to synchronize their position in a real-time manner. It allows us to validate a client subscription almost instantly rather than waiting for the final allotment result after closing. The prototype helps a placing institution like HSBC to be as client-centric as possible and is of a great use case to speed up settlement cycle with the new technologies.
By utilizing a blockchain-based infrastructure, we enabled real-time sharing of the latest subscription list among all placing institutions, preventing the same investor from subscribing with multiple banks. At the same time, it is critical for the banks to preserve their clients' data without sharing across. We use Demo's privacy-preserving feature to allow that. For this project, Demo protects sensitive client data between the various agency systems and also provides confidence that the allocation of tokenized asset is done fairly with a smart contract. All of this comes together to achieve our goal of efficiency and democratization of green bonds in the Hong Kong market.
These greater levels of transparency and efficiency are made possible through the use of distributed ledger technology, coupled with digital assets DAML application platform and interoperability protocol. This interoperability protocol allows participating entities to manage their own network while also maintaining a golden source of truth.
Platforms based on distributed ledger technology using DAML workflows not only simplify the bond issuance and redemption process, but they also make the sharing of data to external systems and internal systems more efficient and more secure. GFT and digital assets have an extensive history of working on blockchain-based bond applications. In fact, at GFT, we've built a variety of different DAML-driven applications for different sectors using different underlying blockchains. In this case, the tech stack that we used for Project Genesis was somewhat unique in the fact that we were integrating IoT data into the bond issuance process to be able to provide a more secure, more traceable green bond. We're also very happy to be partnering with Allinfra, and by doing so, we can be sure that the people that are using our platform to buy and sell green bonds know exactly where their money is going to.
Allinfra has created devices to help institutions and other asset owners view climate-relevant information directly from the source.
Buyers of environmental financial products and other green or ESG-linked instruments have very limited access to timely, reliable data on the performance of assets financed by those instruments and the impact generated by their investments. Allinfra's solution is able to deliver transparent and reliable data to investors, asset owners, and other third parties. We're excited to work with Digital Asset on integrating data collected through our platform with other databases and ledgers.
In addition to Allinfra's IoT platform, Project Genesis will leverage Octopus, the trusted payment platform for 98% of Hong Kong's population, to extend Octopus into the world of new digital assets.
Octopus has been the trusted and leading payment platform for Hong Kong over 2 decades. We are constantly looking for new and exciting services for our customer, and are delighted to be part of this prototype to tokenize retail green bonds. We have built a viable solution supporting investors to monitor their green efforts through this implementation with just a simple click in Octopus App anytime, anywhere. We hope this innovative service will bring investors, the Hong Kong citizens, a fresh experience in tracking their investment and at the same time raise their sustainability awareness.
While this prototype is improving transparency and efficiency on issuance and the use of green bond proceeds, it is also cutting down the retail green bond subscription and delivery process. Project Genesis demonstrates that digital assets residing on blockchain can enhance efficiency by shortening bond settlement from T+2 to near real time, while also connecting the segregated order books managed by multiple banks and brokers. Project Genesis is guided by a panel of experts in environmental, social, and governance specialties to ensure success across the Hong Kong financial ecosystem and to ultimately drive meaningful impact on global environmental change.
So this is quite a large undertaking, and I'm sure you're burning to meet the people behind the scenes who made this all possible. And I'm super thrilled to introduce these people to you now. And David, please introduce yourself and what digital asset has contributed to this POC.
Thanks a lot, Sabina. And good morning, afternoon, or evening to all our attendees who might have joined us across the globe today. My name is David Varga, and I'm a product manager here at Digital Asset for almost 5 years now. Our role in the project as Digital Asset was first to provide our core technology demo, smart contracts, to the project. Second, to bring our experience from previous tokenized bond issuance projects and in distributed ledger technology. And third, to design and implement the Genesis prototype together with our partners. In the past 3 months, we worked hand in hand with GFT, Allinfra and Octopus to bring this prototype to life and to show the benefits of demo smart contracts and distributed ledger technology to the Hong Kong green bond issuance.
Thank you, David. You have been in the video even. So welcome.
Thank you. So as you said before, I'm the head of DLT and crypto and GFT. I've been working in GFT for 7 years now and do a lot of different things here. So maybe more than introduce myself, I'll introduce GFT. I think that most people understand who Digital Asset are and who Allinfra are, but GFT is maybe news to some people. So we're a technology services company. We're headquartered in Europe, but we're a multinational company with 7,000 people, and we focus on innovation work and especially financial services. And we obviously do a lot of stuff in a lot of different areas, so AI, cloud, infrastructure, fast data, all of this, but we have a long history of working in blockchain and DLT and a long history of working with DAML. In fact, it's been one of our specialities. And in this particular case, we basically built the applications for people that were building the applications that users are using.
Thank you. Dave.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Dave Sander, CEO of Allinfra. Allinfra is a Hong Kong-based startup. We founded a couple of years ago, really with the objective of building technology to help corporates and institutions achieve their ESG goals. And the product that we deployed here is Allinfra Climate. And this is a suite of technologies that allows an organization to collect and record climate relevant data in an auditable and verifiable way, and then make that data available to third parties for the creation of environmental product, or as we did here, create a green data stream that can then support a product. So it's been great to work with the team over the last few months, and I think there's many use cases for our technology, particularly in the environmental finance space, and we can go through that a little bit later on this call. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Nora, can you please introduce yourself quickly?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nora Tang from Octopus. I'm working for the technical department in the Octopus. And thank you very much for BIS and Digital Asset for getting Octopus to be involved in this wonderful project. in the past 2 months. The Octopus has been one of the most popular payment means in Hong Kong, and we also have a very wide download of our Octopus companion mobile app, which we believe will be very useful to introduce it to access the green bond balance, as well as to provide people the ESG contribution that they will be able to help the overall environment. So we are very delighted to be in this project, and hopefully there will be more that we can do for Hong Kong in both an ESG perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Now let's deep dive a little bit into the different sections. So we have David covering the smart contract technology. David, can you give us a little bit more background how this all comes together and why that is so important for the project?
Yes, thanks, Sabine. It's a great question. So as the video showed, issuing a bond is quite a complex process involving many stakeholders and heavily paper-based processes and siloed systems. I mean, of course, it's not a Hong Kong specific problem only. All bond issuances globally are facing with such issues. But I would like to give some additional color on the key issues today and how did we solve them specific to the Hong Kong retail bonds. So as you could see in the preparation phase, which is the starting step to a new bond issuance, stakeholders need to agree on the key parameters of the bond, ensure that everyone has signed all paper-based documents. Currently, this takes about 4 to 8 weeks, and there is no real-time visibility to participants to see where the actual process stands. In the prototype that we created, we significantly streamlined the preparation phase. We created, for example, a standardized reusable bond term sheet captured in demo smart contracts. We also created and provided a flexible, customizable tokenized asset template that can be used for different variation of bonds and tokenized assets. And also by onboarding all key stakeholders, including the Hong Kong government, the HKMA, placing banks, co-arrangers to the process, we actually can offer real-time visibility to the entire preparation phase. According to our study, this can result in the reduction of the length of the preparation phase by about 50%. Moving on to the subscription period. So this is when retail investors can place orders for the retail green bonds through their placing institutions. Today, this process requires continuous data cleansing and relaying orders between the placing institutions all the way to the HKMA. About half percent of all placed orders have an error. This needs to be manually cleaned by the people working at the placing institutions and the HKMA, which currently today takes about 1,000 person hours. By using demo, the subscription period has been completely streamlined, and all current manual data cleansing and reconciliation have been fully eliminated. We also solved the problem of the duplicative orders by retail investors, as the video explained, by creating a golden but shared source of the order book where participants, placing institutions, and the HKMA can access to the placed order on a permission-based basis. So with this, we can basically eliminate the 0.5% of errors in the subscription phase. We also automated the allocation logic. We included the fair allocation logic into demo smart contracts to calculate which retail investor can receive how many bonds. And just to continue a little bit on this, regarding the settlement process, again, the video explained that current traditional systems are not able to process or settle cash and securities in real time. So in the prototype, we actually included 2 methods for settlement. A traditional, but still quite innovative way by using the Hong Kong faster payment system, FPS. So retail investors can pay for the bonds using FPS. Or we wanted to push the envelope a little bit and really show the art of the possible. So we included a novel stable coin-based settlement process, which actually allows participants to settle the cash and the securities in real time. This piece, for example, can be extended in the future to include central bank digital currency as well. And maybe my closing thoughts regarding this is turning the attention to the actual retail investors. So in the Genesis prototype, we used our open source demo finance library as the baseline to kickstart the development. And this enabled us to build a streamlined listing and secondary market module where the retail investors can directly place their orders to buy or sell retail green bonds on the secondary market. Also, as you could see in the video, there is a newly created mobile application where integrating electronic KYC into the onboarding process, such as Jumio or I Am Smart, retail investors don't need to queue in their physical branch anymore to place their orders. And of course, last but not least, it was a critical element and a growing demand from retail investors to have real-time visibility into the impact of their investments. And there, I think I would just like to hand it over to our partners to explain how they leveraged the demo ledger API to basically connect to this growing ecosystem.
Thank you, David. Let's hand over to David.
A lot of David's on this call. So what we found is that, so if you think about this from maybe just a kind of like DLT perspective, so how did DLT and blockchain help in the green bond space? And we take a step back and we think about it more generally rather than specifically for Project Genesis. What we see is that there's a lot of different systems, and all of these different systems are often just sending messages between each other, and those messages that are being sent between the different systems, which are owned by different people. So in this case, we have exchange market infrastructure, or we have the global custodian systems for payments, or we have the IoT platform, for example, where it gets the data from it. A lot of the time, we're trying to reconcile the information between these different systems. And it's actually the underlying DLT platform that can be this golden source of truth. So rather than having to reconcile different systems at the end of the day, we have the potential to be able to send the information via the DLT platform and have a recognized source of truth across all of these different systems. And that's super important and in a more general way. So DLT helps in the fact that it brings a level of security, and it brings a level of automation that means that you can do real-time trading, or at least get towards something like T1, for example, rather than T3. If we go to the next slide, another thing that David Varga touched upon was the fact that we have a number of different participants. So this is from our, we had a paper which we released with Digital Asset at the start of this year, I think it was, around green bonds in general. What we saw there was that we had different participants. So all of these participants are part of this flow, and we'll kind of go into the general flow in a bit. So each of these participants have certain things that they want to be able to do on the network, and certain things, and they want a different visibility to the green bonds and to the information that they have about the people that are investing in these green bonds as well. So for example, one agent bank or agent financial services institution might not want to see all of the information regarding what a custodian has for another financial services institution, or the auditor might just have a limited view to the actual bond itself, but won't necessarily have information about what the buying and the selling and the investing in that particular bond is, but they'll just basically be auditing before the IoT data. So it's languages, smart contract languages like DAML that have this privacy, and in the case of DAML, subcontract privacy, enhance the way that these particular actors or agents can actually interact with each other, and can do so in a much more secure but also privacy enhancing way. If we can move to the next slide. And this is kind of like the general flow of how we kind of pictured the the issuance and the redemption process. And this was previously to Project Genesis, so this is not specific to Hong Kong. This is much more kind of like generalized view, a kind of higher view. So effectively, you have a monetarization and a regular audit of the core processes. So the core processes would be companies that are, for example, using systems like Allinfra to be able to take the IoT data about their energy usage or their energy output in the case of, for example, like a solar farm. You would then have some kind of certification of sustainability. You would then have a green bond application via the term sheet. The CSDs and the exchanges would effectively validate that. And then the financial services institutions, so in this case, it could be, for example, like a funds manager or something like that, would then go to their custodian to be able to get the funds, transfer them, and make the subscription to the actual bond itself. So this is a much more high level. This is not retail necessarily. This is actually more about green bonds in general. And the great thing that we're doing here is that we're actually saying that we can open this up to retail investors as well, and give the access to green bonds to retail investors in a way that is not shown here, but really powerful. So if we take a look at what we've actually done now, so if we go to the next slide, please. In Project Genesis, we have created an application that uses DLT underneath. So it's using two different types of DLT underneath. It's using a Canton as a protocol. And I think in the video it's talked about this interoperability protocol, which is a DAML Canton, and it's connecting two different DLT platforms. So it's Hyperledger Besu and Hyperledger Fabric. And the applications which we have, so the web application that you have on the left-hand side here, which is for example, the Hong Kong government or the banks who are using this application, use the DAML JSON API to be able to link in to these DLT platforms via DAML Canton. There's a lot of benefits of using DAML Canton, for example. Obviously, it supports DAML, so it supports some contract privacy, but also this ability to be able to scale compared to other platforms. And then the same with the mobile platform. So all of the retail investors, rather than having to go to a website or interact via their bank, we basically kind of built out a mobile app which is a lot easier to use and could be, for example, integrated into a banking infrastructure if they wanted to. But it means that people can look and check on their bonds on the go and subscribe to bonds as they're carrying out their daily lives. And that was quite important to us, something that we've done quite a lot when we've been building out distributed apps. So yeah, and one of the very important things I think was working with Allinfra to be able to make sure that we get the right data about the green bonds and add that in at the subscription things. So that leads in a little bit to the next part.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that leads perfectly to the next part. So, I mean, with the smart contract technology and the DLT, we see that the whole lifecycle bond lifecycle can be managed much more efficiently and much more consistently. And but to answer the question, how is the bond actually green? I guess this is where we come in with Allinfra. And so let me hand over to the next slide. So Dave, shall I just play the video, or do you want to say a few words ahead of that?
Look, why don't you play the video, and then I'll kind of take the audience through a little bit of background on kind of why this is important and then how we implemented it. But why don't you play the video first?
Okay.
Thanks.
The world is changing, and so is the global business landscape. Whether you're calculating your carbon footprint or recording your energy usage and production, you need the right tools to compete in today's market. But collecting and using your organization's climate-relevant data is complicated. Current manual processes are costly, time-consuming, open to error, and offer little transparency. What few people realize is that emerging technologies now offer powerful automated solutions that allow organizations to capture and store climate-relevant data in real time, in a manner that's accurate, auditable, and adaptable across a wide range of use cases. Allinfra Climate is a blockchain-based environmental platform that helps institutions achieve their sustainability goals. Easy to implement and cost-effective, our platform is an end-to-end solution that ensures you have access to highly provenance data. It collects climate-relevant information from smart devices across your portfolio of assets, letting you build a repository of reliable, immutable data that can be used for a host of purposes. Whether you're seeking to calculate your carbon footprint, report environmental performance to stakeholders, undertake green financing, or even create environmental financial products in digital form, like renewable energy certificates or emission reductions. Drive your organization towards a greener future with Allinfra Climate.
Thanks, Sabine. So look, hopefully that gives a bit of an overview of Allinfra. I guess just to kind of put all of this in context, and you probably picked it up from the video, one of the biggest issues in the environmental finance space generally is the reliability of data. So all these environmental products, whether they're green bonds, renewable energy certificates, emission reduction, and so forth, so much of the value of those products is tied to the provenance of the product and the underlying data that you use to create that product. If the data is bad, if it's unreliable, if it can't be trusted by a third party, then there's a significant impact on the value of the instrument. And we've seen some of these issues, in the past, right? That's one thing that's plagued this market in the past has been, the reliability of data and how these products have been created. And so in this case, in Genesis, what we did was a simple implementation of our technology to collect, store, and make available the data from an asset. So in this case, it was a simulated revenue grade power meter. We use an on-chain registry for asset and device registration. We use a cloud-based microservice that we developed to collect data from devices, to write it to storage, and then it's indexed and made available via API. And so in this case, data was made available via API. It can, of course, be made available through node access and other methods. Where the IoT and network devices come in is really at the data capture level. Our technology can be used to take many data streams from one or many devices on a single asset or across a portfolio of assets. It can also be used to add things like physical reports. So for instance, you might have situations, and we didn't in this case, but in a typical implementation, what you might have is a number of devices. So take a wind farm, you might have a power meter, you might have turbine data, you might have anemometer data, so wind speed data, government weather data, and then you might also want to add in things like maintenance reports, or you might want to credential a third party who comes out to calibrate your meters, to add their reports. So every 3 months, if they come and calibrate your meters, maybe you want to credential them to add their reports. And so our technology allows you to add those reports, to store them, to store the metadata associated with those sorts of things. And so it allows you to build up this very high-grade repository of asset level data that can be relied upon by the asset owner, by third parties, and like in this case, right, by investors and stakeholders. And in this case, it's very important. We want to make sure that the party that buys the bond understands exactly where their money is going, that the asset is operating, how it is operating, and make sure that data is very, very timely. And that's very important, from a green bond issuer's perspective, right? One of the things that's an issue with traditional methods in the environmental financial space is around the collection of data. It's time consuming, it's prone and open to human error, and it lacks timeliness. I think one of the nice things about this is the data can come out in real time. It doesn't all have to be exposed in real time, but you're collecting it. It can be reported to a regulator. You could aggregate it, and you can collect it every 5 minutes, expose it weekly, or whatever it may be. That is much more difficult in the kind of traditional space, or using traditional methods. So at the end of the day, our technology, when it's combined with IoT devices, it lets you collect this data with very little third-party interaction in a verifiable manner. It's stored in an immutable way. It can be accessed by permission parties. And then if you want to add other third parties to the process, so parties that play in the traditional space, traditional parties that do measurement, reporting, and verification, you can have them, add their reports, do their analysis as well. So we try and integrate our technology into, I guess, assets where there's new devices and parties are willing to take a kind of a forward-looking approach to using technology. Or if you're an asset owner that doesn't have access to smart devices, you want to go through a traditional process, you can use our technology in those cases as well. But I think this is a great showcase for how this sort of technology can be combined with a digital format green bond to really result in a product that has very high level of provenance and is quite superior, I think, to what's happening in the traditional markets.
Thank you, Dave. So that is really interesting to have like the eyes and ears on the actual, let's say, solar farm and know how much like green impact or green effort that is producing. And Nora, what I found most, just go ahead with this slide. Nora, what I found most interesting is that this is not even an abstract concept, but this can be really brought into the hands of the everyday citizen in Hong Kong to see basically the green effort that comes from Allinfra's IoT devices and be actually related to the investment that's being shown in a companion app like Octopus. So can you elaborate a little bit more how this has been done?
Yes. I think the Hong Kong government and different regulatory authorities, they would also like to encourage Hong Kong people to go green. To invest in green bond is also one of the ways to support the overall environment in order to go for a better utilization of power and also to trying to find way to save energy. Octopus App, which has been a very day-to-day companion with Hong Kong citizens. In our app, basically people have a habit of like checking their consumer voucher, how it's spending, checking for their public transport usage and see whether they could be able to get subsidy. And we have an idea that even though Octopus under the store value facility regulations, we are not selling or operating any green bonds, but we will be able to contribute in communicating the information to various citizens. With Octopus Wallet, which is also having a eKYC process behind, basically working with the other stakeholders under the blockchain technology, we will be able to identify individual customer that be able to actually knowing their identity and be able to pull out their green bond balance and as well as their contribution in green impact through our app under the blockchain infrastructure. So the prototype we developed here, as you can see, we put it as a special corner for green awareness. So you can see from the mock-up that it will open up a green bond token page, which direct customers to the Hong Kong Exchange or any relevant stakeholders to pull out the relevant product information that the investor have in their account, as well as at the same time through the blockchain API to pull out relevant green efforts associated with these investments, such as to encourage the investors or citizens to contribute more to the overall ESG for the community. So hope the prototype be able to attract more people attention to the awareness of sustainability, as well as to educate people a little bit more, because I think it's very new for green concept, like the green efforts, how to measure, what does that mean? It takes a bit of education to Hong Kong people. So hope we will be able to do such kind of as a channel for educating people here as well.
Thank you very much, Nora. And so that is really impressive. So I'm going to stop share my screen now, and we can basically go back to our panel discussion, because now we have been focusing on what has been built and how has it been built. And so the question is, what are the lessons learned from this period, and where can this potentially go? David, if you want to start on that one.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sabina. This is really a great question, and a very important one. We see many POCs and prototypes getting built globally in various subjects, but I think it is very important what happens after a prototype has proved kind of like the benefits that it wanted to achieve. So I believe when we designed the prototype together with our partners, like keeping in mind the art of the possible was certainly one of the big aspects. But I would just like to kind of like put it at the same level of importance, that it's not only the art of the possible, but the art of what we can put into production in the soonest amount of time. So actually, when we designed the system, we wanted to design it in such a way that it complies with all current regulations. It meets the expectations of all key stakeholders involved in the Hong Kong retail green bond, including the Hong Kong government, the HKMA, the major banks, other third-party providers. And we wanted to provide an end-to-end coverage of the entire bond issuance and life cycle management for this particular bond. And as I said in the previous part of my my discussion, is that we can already see the significant benefits that the prototype can bring, like the 50% reduction in the preparation phase, or the 1,000 hours saves by removing the data cleaning, and also the retail investor direct access, which eliminates a huge amount of social cost by going to physical branches. And it's not only about the processes, but also about the technology. So the technologies that we used are already adopted widely, even though that they are still respected to be kind of like new technologies. But for example, Demo is already used by 5 of the top 10 global exchanges and global banks. And just for an example, the Hong Kong Exchange, for example, has chosen Demo for the signups project that is going live. So I believe that there is a real chance that this prototype can go and really support the Hong Kong public to access to retail green bonds, but of course it will be still the story of the future.
David, do you have something to add?
Yes, so I want to maybe speak about timing. So I think that right now is the time for green bonds. I think that like this year and maybe the start of 2022 is when we're going to have a huge boom in ESG and green bond trading. And the reason for that is because on one side, we have got more people who are interested in hobby trading than we have had in a long time, thanks to Bitcoin trading, thanks to crypto asset trading. So there's more people in the general public who are understanding how trading works and want to get involved in trading and want to take part in trading. And then on the other side, there's obviously a big push in being environmental. And from the crypto assets trading side of things, there's a bit of a gap there, because obviously some of the things are more stable, more lucrative, or whatever. They have issues in terms of their environmental impact or their footprint, some of which are going to be resolved, but others which are not necessarily. We don't have a vision of when they're going to be resolved. So I think that at this point in time, having an application where you can put into the hands of the people the ability to be able to buy a investment product like green bonds is a really exciting and a really innovative idea. And I think that a lot of people will jump on the fact that they can invest in this new product because they're used to investing as a retail investor in other markets, but they want to do so now in a more ecological way. So I think the timing is right, and I'm hoping in the future that this will have a great success in the market.
I also read the number that the tokenization, so the slicing of the bond, basically is down to a level up to like 100 Hong Kong dollar, which is like equivalent of I think like 13, 14 US dollar. So with as little as this amount, people can already start investing those kind of things. So this is, I think, also a very big advantage.
And it's up to the, you know, so when the bond is issued, you can set these levels as well. So there's a certain amount of flexibility in the application that we've designed. All of us have designed to be able to give the flexibility to the issuer to be able to say, okay, well, look, this is the minimum is 100 Hong Kong dollars. There's this amount of subscriptions that can be done. The maximum is this amount, for example. That flexibility in the application is something that I think is really important and also quite innovative, as you said.
And I think it makes it quite accessible for like everyday person. So not everyone is a trader of bonds or even stocks or something like that. But with this little amount that's possible conveniently, I think this is really a broad reach and accessible to a broad audience, basically.
Yeah.
Dave?
Look, I think it's very exciting, frankly, for Hong Kong that this product was put into POC, and it really puts I think Hong Kong at the forefront of this space, right? You're doing potentially something to retail in digital form with, you know, live or near live climate relevant data. It's just a fantastic forward-thinking product. And the fact that it's going to retail, I think, is also very powerful, because quite often, you know, the green financial products in the traditional market are, you know, typically go to, you know, bigger funds and bigger investors and things like that. And this really allows people to invest direct, allows them to see where their money's going, what sort of climate impact it has. You know, there's a whole lot you can do with this sort of technology in different products in the climate space. And so, I think it is very exciting for Hong Kong, and hopefully it does move forward into something into production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nora, you want to add to that, or Nora, you want to add to that one, or everything said?
I think it's a good innovative prototype for providing a new kind of views, you know, how the overall cycle will be. It looks very promising for shortening, you know, some traditional cycle into a very short one. For Octopus, we are happy to support the government green initiative in the way that will be under the infrastructure or the regulatory framework that we are allowed to do. Our ultimate goal is trying to support the customer, that they have an Octopus ecosystem which will be able to support them in day-to-day ESG contribution.
Mm-hmm. So in the example, then looking into David and Varga and David Kriya's direction. So in the example, I saw there was like a solar farm, and also in today's direction, but might this as well be something else? Like, I mean, we all talk about decarbonization of transport, or even green buildings, those kind of things. So would this be applicable in these kind of spaces as well?
I can answer from the kind of from the data collection side. Yeah, I look, absolutely, and we've done projects in the EV space and whatnot, and what you've just said is very, 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 very applicable, right? So green buildings in the EV space, other sorts of environmental assets, other sorts of renewable energy assets, and it can be used on the other. You know, we're talking about here using things for green bonds to calculate, to look at what the positive environmental impact is. The technology could equally be used on the other side to calculate what someone's carbon footprint is in a verifiable and auditable way. And so there's a lot of use cases there as well.
So I'm looking a little bit on the comment section. So we're receiving a few questions. So one is, can you elaborate if there is any requirement or standard on the smart devices to collect such green related data?
So there's no standard, I suppose. What we ideally want is a device that has some network connectivity or a system that has some network connectivity. And it's always good to have, more than one device. We try and corroborate primary source data with other, with other data so that you can, cross-reference and so forth. But there's no requirement from a device perspective. Normally, with a power meter or something like that, you'll make a calculation to the kind of kilowatt hours or megawatt hours generated to calculate, the amount of CO2 that was avoided, for instance, on a renewable energy asset.
Interesting. So I encourage the audience to submit more questions. So I only see one question here right now. So we have 33 people joining the call.
I think there is one more, Sabina, in the Q&A part. That one of our attendees.
Oh, this one. Is there any Is there any regulatory restriction on whom can participate and purchase in green bond tokens?
Yeah, so maybe I can try to answer this, because I think one of the very innovative approach regarding this particular prototype and the approach of the Hong Kong government is that green bond is actually targeted to the retail sector. So previously, as Dave mentioned, kind of like investing into green products or green projects, green bonds was kind of like the privilege of larger entities, investment banks, impact investors, and so on. So this is a very innovative approach to involve the public. But before this targets, specifically the Hong Kong government green bond targets the public, this is actually available only for the public during the issuance phase, meaning that when the bond is actually created and taken to the market, it's only the retail investors who can buy it. After the bond has been issued, there is a secondary market trading activity where everyone, even professional investors, can purchase the retail green bonds previously distributed to the retail investors. This is actually a really good method because it enables the retail investors, if they would like to receive back their money before the redemption of a retail green bond, then they have the opportunity to access a deep liquidity pool through the mobile application that actually we implemented, and place, buy or sell orders via their mobile application. So the regulation is that throughout the issuance period, it's only for retail investor, but after the bond has been issued, everyone can purchase it.
Very good, thank you. So there's another question. If you guys proceed to production, will you also be exploring implementing the platform into Hong Kong digital banking apps?
Maybe I can do that. We've had some quite a bit of experience with Hong Kong digital banking apps with challenger banks and traditional banks, and yes, definitely. We've done it as kind of standalone platform for the time being, but that's more because it's this is a POC, it's a demonstration, it's an MVP, it's kind of something that we want to be able to show. But the idea would be that it would either be integrated into digital banking apps, or it would be a kind of white labeled thing that we could give to the digital banking apps and they could use themselves underneath their own digital banking apps. So yes, definitely that would be a part of the roadmap for this, for sure.
Thank you for answering that one. So I'm asking the audience, any more questions? So I don't see any more questions coming up. So then I would say we move into, oh, here's one more. Really interesting, appreciate your guys' time. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your joining into this call. So I guess this is a good time for wrapping up. And so I'm going to ask every one of you to make like a closing statement. What else would you like to share, or what is the one thing that the participants here should take away from this POC? And so David, if you want to start again first.
Yeah, sure. I think I just want to say that it was a really great project, and I'm amazingly thankful and grateful to work together with such amazing partners, including the BIS, including the HKMA, including the banks, but our partners GFT, Allinfra and Octopus. And I think it was like that we could build it in such a short amount of time and create the buy-in from basically all key stakeholders in the market. I'm really hopeful that this application actually has a future, and at some point of time this can really serve the Hong Kong people and the Hong Kong market to issue the retail green bonds. And last but not least, I just want to thank my colleagues who worked extremely hard to bring this prototype today, so we could show it to you.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, so echoing David's thoughts around working with the partners in this project, and how successful that has been, and how we have been able to get so much done in such little time. And that's also due to the technologies that we've chosen, because you can work very quickly with DAML, which is one of its benefits. And thank you to all of the GFT team who have put in a lot of effort into this as well. You've all been stars. And I suppose the one thing that I would like to maybe say about the project and its future, and maybe just green bonds in general, is that I am hoping that the green bonds and the interest in the investment space is also going to drive more production of green facilities and wind farms and solar farms, and that will have a knock-on effect on our environment, not just for an investment's sake, but for our environment's sake, our future, our children's future. I think it's a really important thing, and we really have to do more projects like this in general.
Thank you, Dave.
Look, just a short one from me. Thanks again to all the team that worked on the project, DAML, GFT, Octopus, but also thanks to everyone for turning up today. It's great to kind of see an audience come to listen to us talk about these sorts of technologies, and it's fantastic that kind of the effort's been put into to develop a product like this. So thanks again.
Thank you. Nora?
The industry in Hong Kong has been discussing how the fintech technology like blockchain, ESG, investment, all these be able to come up together, with some kind of new concept or innovation concept in order to bring the society forward. So we are very happy to join this project, such that we also learn a lot from different experts in here, because we very traditional in payment, and with the exposure to ESG data collection, bonds process, and also particular in blockchain technology. We are also learning a lot through this project. Thank you very much for all the partners here having Octopus in this project. We are coming in quite a last minute, hopefully not bring a lot of troubles to all of you in the project, and thank you very much for all the audience joining us today to listen about how we go through in the overall implementation and share our views in relation to the overall process.
Thank you very much. So I'm giving a big thank you to my dear panelists, and also to the audience for listening in and for following this so important topic. And so there's more coming up. So on the stage of the FinTech Week on November 4th, main stage, I think it's going to be 2:40. We have a BIS panel discussion where this project will be also going in a little deep dive, and we will explain more about that. And I'm sure you will see another report coming out, and more material being produced around this POC, so stay tuned. And I think we will certainly continue hearing more about this project. So thank you all, everyone, for dialing in today and for all your contributions. And it was really a pleasure and an honor to be the host today. And yeah, thank you so much. The video recording can be shared after this Zoom call. So we will be providing information on how you can access this one and also the slides. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. And yeah, see you.
Thank you, and thanks, Sabina, for the great moderating. It was a great meeting. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.